expectation of champions as they come toward the top of the stretch. And they're into the stretch. And here we go. Songbird set down. Beholder is alongside.
The 7-year wait is over. American Pharoah, it's finally the one. American Pharoah has won.
He's just perfect. And now he's just immortal.
Here's the wire. Desperately close. Tisno wins it for America.
Hello, welcome to the Capital OTB Weekend Stakes Preview for the weekend of June 15th. Sully Crotty, Mike Callahan. Mike, how you doing?
What's going on, Sully? Back at it after a phenomenal weekend down at Belmont. Kudos to Seth, who's down there, and really gave us some really good interviews. Brian Dorenzo, who's obviously our TV director here at Capital OTB, he did a great job down there as well. But fun 2 days that we were down there. You know, the Belmont Stakes Festival was terrific. Great performances all around. Very interesting how the Belmont Stakes ended up winning. I know Sir Winston got the job done. I was a big Tacitus fan. Trip to me was a little bit, interesting in there. Obviously, you didn't want to lose too much ground, and losing it around both turns. The big question, was the trip ultimately the deciding factor? I'm not sure. Sir Winston ran a pretty big race, but now we have another week to look forward to. Saratoga coming up here in a month, and the train keeps on rolling.
Yeah, just want to talk about the Belmont. I know we talked about it last week, but I think Joel gave the best ride in the entire race. Obviously, on Sir Winston, saved a lot of ground there. So now it just opens up a lot for the Travers. It's going to be wide open, but fantastic weekend of racing this weekend, and obviously down at Churchill Downs, they have a fantastic night card, and we will be taking it here at Capital OTB with Nighttime Thoroughbred on Saturday night. But it is a fantastic night card, and we're going to be taking a look at the All-Stakes Pick 5 for the Stakes Preview at Churchill Downs, starting with race number 5 at 8:03 post time at night. This is the Matt Winn, a Grade 3 event for 3-year-olds going a mile and a 16th on the main track. The 6th race, this is the Wise Dan, Grade 2 event for 3-year-olds and up, going a mile and a 16th on the turf course. Moving on to race number 7. Race number 7 is the Fleur de Lis Handicap, Grade 2 event, $250,000 on the line for fillies and mares, 3 and up, going a mile and an 1/8. Race number 8, the Highlight, the Stephen Foster, Grade 2 event, $600,000 on the line for 3-year-olds and up. They're going a mile and an 1/8 on the main track. And then we'll take a look at race number 9 as well, the Regret, Grade 3 event, $150,000 on the line for 3-year-old fillies, going a mile and an 1/8 on the turf course.
But we will go back and start off that All-Stakes Pick 5 and race number 5, the Matt Winn. And you're going to see the field in here in a second. You're going to see 7 horses entered in the Matt Winn, with the morning line favorite being the number 6, Mr. Money, Brett Calhoun, Gabriel Saez. It's actually going to be my top choice, and we're going to watch the replay of the victory last time in the Pat Day Mile, where this horse got the job done by 5 1/4. Really sat the dream trip behind speed. Is going to be the 7 who just took the lead here around the far turn, but actually made a little bit of a middle move to split horses and ultimately get to where he is right now. And at this point, it's just how far is he going to win by? Opens up. I think the thing that flatters him coming out of this race is the fact that the second horse in here is going to be the 13. Those two ran 1-2 predominantly the entire way around so far, as far as you've seen so far from watching this race. Hog Creek Hustle came back to win and upset in the Woody Stevens. So that should only flatter Mr. Money in this spot. Listen, I don't think anybody's going to be wowed by the 2-1 price in here. Coming off that career best 92 buyer. Is the bounce theory in play? I think a couple people, may say, throw them out just because you can't put back-to-back races together. This seems to be the case for a lot of these horses in here. Limonite, Nolo Contesto, Signalman. They've all had blemishes of really good performances, but they've never been able to repeat those performances. For me, the workout since that Pat Day Mile, Mr. Money's been unbelievable. Look at that workout last time out, 47-1, second of 76. Go back to May 31st, that workout, first of 17, 59-4. He loves it at Churchill Downs. Again, the 2-1, probably going to go a little bit shorter in here. I think he's going to go off somewhere around 8-5, 7-5. But I think he has a serious shot to repeat in here. What were your thoughts going into it, and what were your selections?
Yeah, he obviously does. Mr. Money, as you said, looked unbelievable that day, and has to, put the confidence up a little bit after we saw how Hog Creek Hustle ran last weekend. I'm taking a shot against Mr. Money. I don't know if the 2 turns is going to be so kind to him here, going back to a mile and a 16th, but the horse did break the maiden at this level. Didn't run bad in the Breeders' Cup either. I'm giving one last shot to Signal Man. I just think this sets up perfect for him. He's dropping down, obviously, from the Preakness and the Bluegrass. Didn't think ran bad in the Bluegrass behind Vekoma and Win. I just think the horse has the best chance to go 2 turns and kind of get a price home here for Ken McPeek. And just a balanced horse on paper, can close, can set off the pace, and has shown to go to the lead earlier on in the career to break the maiden. So I'm going to use Signal Man on top. Limonite's a horse that I know you and I both liked in the Risen Star. Didn't run bad, I thought, behind War Will, Country House, Royland as well. Came back to run a decent race. But then came back in an optional claimer from way off the pace. It kind of set up for him in the slop and was able to win that race by a nose. Also does have a lot of success at Churchill Downs, 3 for 3 in the money. So I'm going to use the 2 and the 1 over Mr. Money. That's just a one question mark for me. Obviously, he's going to get to lead, but can this horse repeat that type of monster race going 2 turns? But we'll have to wait and see here. But at the price, going back to 2 turns, I'm taking a little bit of a shot against Mr. Money. I'm going to use defensively in the pick 5. But for me, I went 2-1-6-3.
Yeah, I went 6-3-7-2 just to give you my complete top 4. Mr. Money, and I think what you hit on the head is the saying, one last shot. Because Signal Man is a horse that we've liked. Limonite, you already talked about as us liking. And they just really haven't been able to get the job done. So then we see him in another race, and it's like, we'll give him we'll give him a shot again, and we give him a shot again, and that's the way that this field kind of seems to go. They all have series potential. They all just seem to sort of just underwhelm you in some races, not all, because they all are very good, obviously, in graded stakes company. But to me, the second best horse in here is Nolo Contesto, a horse that's coming in from the West Coast. Finished 4th last time to Roadster. Now, Roadster didn't run very much in the Kentucky Derby. Maybe he didn't like to slop. We'll see going forward. Instagram, who finished 3rd in that race, was a beaten favorite in that Pat Day Mile that you watched with Mr. Money. But the Nolo Contesto that beat Omaha Beach in the second career start, that was a very good performance. Buyers-wise, fits well in here. Joel Rosario is going to be aboard for John Sadler in here. And I think this may be the overlooked horse because I think Signal Man, who's known predominantly in the Midwest, Limonite as well, who transferred from Fairgrounds up to Churchill Downs. Nolo Contesto, the outside shipper coming in, I think may be overlooked in this spot. I want to use in the second spot. And then in the third spot, let's go with a complete bomb. That's Armistice Day, the number 7, a horse that's going to try the dirt for the first time. Last time, raced on the turf, finished 6th, only beaten 4 lengths to Voting Control and Penalty, who are pretty decent turf horses in their own regard. But the first 3 starts were over the synthetic, 2 of them up at Woodbine, 1 at Turfway, and has faced some stakes company and stakes quality and finished 2nd, actually, in a 5.5 sprint, second career start up at Woodbine. You take a look at Tom Drury's numbers, second off this type of layoff, 30%. I know he's a huge price in here, but I want to use him in my tries and supers because I think if a couple of these regress in here, he's one that can improve on the dirt. So I have it 6-3-7-2 in the 5th. Your thoughts one more time?
2-1-6-3.
All right, we will take a look at race number 6 on Saturday, which is going to be the Grade 2 Wise. Dan, you're going to see a field in here that is deep and as wide open as can be in here. You're going to see 14. They're going to go in here. You have the also eligible, the number 15 Parlor. Lukewarm favoritism, co-favorites, in the number 7. It's in the Post, who's coming off a little bit of a layoff, and then also the number 12 Admission Office. I know you have a replay. We both have replays in here that we want to show, but I'll let you take it away first since your replay is going to be coming up.
Yeah, I'm 5-1. This is what you dream. You get a turf route, 12 horse field, 14 horse field, favorites 5-1. I went with Inspector Lindley on top, and I do want to pull up the replay of a couple starts back in the Tampa Bay against a really nice field. And he is the number 2 horse in here. I just think this is a really good effort to run by good competition. Looks like the horse is a little bit tired here, but gets a nice rail run to get the job done against some nice horses in Divisadero and Kerbin. Then came back and I thought ran a pretty nice race against Bricks and Mortar. Lost by 2 lengths there, but as you can see, just a gutsy horse to kind of grind this one out. I think Divisadero in here would be a clear-cut favorite and kind of put the horse away there at Tampa Bay down. So I like the 6-1 price. I actually think this horse will obviously get put down just a little bit, but not that much. Should stay around that 6-1, 5-1 price for Shug McGahee. But as I said, then came back and faced Bricks and Mortar. Did not think that was a bad effort at all. Came back after that race, beat a nice horse in Maraud and Multiplier in a $100,000 stakes race at Aqueduct, and then went to go run in the Dixie and lost to Catholic Boy, and Just Howard ran a huge race that day and came in 6 by 3 lengths. So I just think the last couple of starts, and buyers-wise, if this horse repeats those high 90s, 100 buyers, I think it'll be tough to beat Inspector Lindley. That's who I'm going to use on top. The 12 is the co-favorite on the morning line with Joel Rosario in Mission Office going out for Brian Lynch. This horse has looked great the last couple starts. Came in second, the Catholic Boy in that Dixie. Ran a buyer best 95. Obviously a repeat of that buyer will be a little bit tough to beat in the Wise Dan. And then the 11 for me in the third spot is March to the Arch. March to the Arch is an interesting horse because this is a horse that should be sitting in a stalking role, getting a jump on Inspector Lindley and in Mission Office. And there's a lot of other closing speed in here. But the one thing that could worry me, there's only a few horses that want to go to the lead. So I'm going to have to back myself up with a speed horse. And to the inside, First Primero most likely will try to get to the lead there and has had success at this distance. I'm going to use in the third spot. But to me, I thought Inspector Lindley is coming in this race in good form. The buyers kind of stack up against a little bit of this field. I'm going to use Inspector Lindley on top, 9, 12, 11, and 3.
I did 12, 3, 10, and 11. I wasn't thrilled to settle with a favorite in here. But the performance last time by Admission Office, we're going to see in the Dixie that you talked about, finishing second, being a half length to Catholic Boy, who I know is got to be one of your favorites of all time. So 12 is Catholic Boy on the outside. What you're not going to see is Admission Office is actually dead last at this point. On the rail right now is going to be the number 3 horse. And you're going to see Joel Rosario sort of weave his way through, coming up the rail. And he's going to be a fast finishing second in here, only beating a half a length. And if for some reason this race was at a mile and an eighth, he may have actually caught Catholic Boy on this day. But the 3 right now who's sort of zipping up the rail, this was a really nice performance. If you go 2 starts back, actually won that race, beat a heavily favored Instilled Regard that day, and also Say the Word, who finished third in that race, came back to win an allowance at Belmont on Saturday. So there's a lot of things that flatter Admission Office. I think he's a horse that's trending up in here, where some horses are coming off layoffs, some are coming off some poor performances. Admission Office just seems to be very sharp right now, and I expect him to run a very big race. Hopefully the price stays. I think with so many options in here, it'd be hard for me to believe that anybody's going to go off below 4-1. So it's still a $10 horse in this spot. Maybe kicking yourself saying, maybe I didn't go with a favorite in here with Admission Office being as good as he is right now. I'll use him as my top choice. The number 3, who I know you have in the mix, is First Primero. I had him 2 starts back at Keeneland when he won at just under 6-1 that day. He's a horse that likes to be fourthly placed. He doesn't need the lead. I think the 1 has the most speed in here. The horse that was predominantly sprinting on the turf, stretched out last time to a mile, is going to show speed in here, and also the 6 is going to show some speed in here as well. So I think First Primero, our First Premio, is going to be sitting the pocket and maybe the ideal trip in here. Buyers-wise fits very well in here. I just think ran out of ground last time going the mile. The extra 16th may help him in this spot. 8-1 is very fair. I think this horse has a serious shot in here, so use him in your mix as well. The 10 is interesting to me, especially with Javier Castellano drawing on this horse. It's going to go first time in North America for Ignacio Carrera. And this horse has been racing all of his races down in Chile, is going to, again, be making his North American debut. But if you take a look at some of these horses that have transferred this form, I think of Wildcat, I think of a couple other horses that have run some really big races down in South America and then come up in North America and done quite well. This horse, time-wise alone, fits in here. 1 going the mile at 1:33.3. Actually raced a mile 1:32.3. Now again, turf courses are different everywhere you go. Churchill is very deep course as far as the turf course goes. But I think this horse attracting Javier Castellano at 12-1, you're going to want to watch the board on this horse because if he's getting some play at all, now the only cold thing would be the trainer stat, 0 for 11 so far for the trainer, but he has been in the money 6 times. So I'll be interested to see what type of price you get, but I'm going to include him in my pick 5s. And in the 4th spot, I'll use the number 11, March to the Arch, horse that won 2 starts back, finished 5th last time against Bricks and Mortars, and then Bricks and Mortars came back to win the Manhattan, one of the best turf horses around right now that we have in North America and probably the world. That's Bricks and Mortars. So I like that performance last time out. I'll include him in here. My big question to you, in this pick 5 sequence, how deep are you going to go in here? Because I think this is a race you have to probably go 5 or 6 deep if you can, bankroll-wise. But if you can't, you sort of have to trim and hope that one of those horses that you threw out don't beat you.
Well, I think next race you can easily trim, and we'll talk about that the 7th race. But yeah, I think if you could afford it, you could go you should go 5 or 6 deep because you are going to get a price home. The lowest horse you'll get home you would think is around $10 or $11, which is great in an all stakes pick 5 sequence. So I think you could trim next race, and we're going to talk about that race coming up. But I think you do need to go deep in the Wise Dan.
Yeah, well, our thoughts one more time at 12, 3, 10, and 11 for me in the Wise Dan. Your thoughts one more time?
9, 12, 11, 3.
All right, let's talk about that Fleur de Lis right now, which is going to be a field of 6 in here. And you're right, there's going to be 3 in here that are showing favoritism, slight favoritism to a late. She's a Julie, serious player in here. Blue Prize, serious player in here. I will only go 2 deep in here and throwing out one of them. I'll let you talk about it because I know that this is a race that you're going to talk about first. But, you know, which way do you go in here? Because She's a Julie raced so well last time out, looking for 3 in a row. Is the bounce theory in place? She loves Churchill Downs. Late's been facing Midnight Bisou, and we just saw what Midnight Bisou did in the Ogden Phipps. So, it seems like it's down to those 2. But did you have Blue Prize elevated in your mix?
I didn't. I'm just going to use the 2 and the 3. And go Google yourself is interesting as well. The 4 at 10-1. I have 2, 3, 5, 4. I am a huge fan of She's a Julie. I am still stunned that we got 5-1 on her last time out at Churchill Downs on Kentucky Oaks Day. And as you said, she loves Churchill Downs. She's 3 for 5, 4 for 5 in the money. And here's the one question mark: will a mile and an eighth be a problem? I do not think so. I think she gets the perfect trip in here with the bigger prices, most likely going to the lead. The 1's going to go to the lead, and go Google yourself, has shown to go to the lead. I think She's a Julie sets the perfect trip for Steve Asmussen. He's on fire everywhere he goes. 18% at Churchill Downs, and then graded stakes 17%. Him and Ricardo 22% at Churchill Downs as well. I'm a big fan of She's a Julie. I think she gets the right trip in here. Elate, as you said, has been facing Midnight Bisou, who looked fantastic, and that was a gift at 8-5 for her in the Ogden Phipps on Belmont Stakes Day. In the Apple Blossom, I didn't think she ran bad. Escape Clause kind of didn't run at all in the Ogden Phipps, which is a little concerning, but Elaine ran well, 2 starts back, 2 Midnight Bisou, and then you can remember in the personal ensign where, Abel Tasman kind of looked like there was a little bit of bumping there with Elate. Elate should have went up, but Elate still is a fantastic horse. She really is the real deal. I'm just going to use the 2 and the 3 in here. Blue Prize, obviously she's going to be very tough to beat as well. In the Breeders' Cup Distaff, ran a really nice 4th by a length to Monomoy Girl and Wildcat, and she's been running at this distance 9 times. She's running the money 8 times. So, out of those 3, and then I'm going to use Go Google Yourself 4th, who's a little bit of a horse for course angle at a price. But Blue Prize is a horse that is going to be tough to beat. I'm just a huge fan of She's a Julie. She's looked great the last 4 or 5 starts. I'm all in on She's a Julie. 2, 3, 5, and 4 from me in race 7.
I had a flip-flop. I had a 3, 2, 5. Now, you and I both like She's a Julie last time. I was shocked to get that 5-1 price, but I think Elate can come around and make a serious race out of this. She's a horse that, for me, has been a little bit too far back in the last couple because they've been short fields, 6 and 5 horse fields. And again, the fact that she's been facing Midnight Bisou, there's really no loss obviously she lost, but really no loss of losing to Midnight Bisou in here. The big question for me is, Elate faced Abel Tasman in that epic showdown in the personal ensign in Saratoga. And they ran so well in that race. They were actually 9 lengths clear of Wildcat, who ended up finishing 2nd, I believe, last year in the Distaff. And Abel Tasman never came back and raced the same after that race. And Elate took some time off, And then she really hasn't been the same Elate that we saw since that. Now, did both of those horses just run one gigantic race and then they just weren't the same since? I think we're really going to find out in this race, because I think she can beat She's a Julie in this spot. The workouts suggest that she's probably back in form. Maybe she needed the last couple because she was coming off of an August layoff. But I think the right setup in here is going to happen. The 1's going to have some pace in here. I think the 4 should be forwardly placed. She's a Julie should be in front of Elate, but I think Elate should be targeting She's a Julie. So if that's the way that I see it, I think Elate may be able to grind She's a Julie down. I'll use her on top. She's a Julie in the second spot. Again, really no bad thoughts from her. The 3 for 5, very good stat. The fact that she's looking for 3 in a row, the fact that she was very gutsy beating Secret Spice last time out, she's a must-use in here. And then the 5 in the third spot. Another one who likes Churchill Downs. 6 for 7 in the money, including 3 victories. For me, though, the trainer stat in here kind of led me in a different direction. Second off, the over 180-day plus layoff is actually 0 for 11 so far. So I'm going to have to use a wait-and-see approach in here. I think the 2 and the 3 are a little bit more likely to win in this spot. So for me, I saw it 3-2-5. Your thoughts one more time?
2-3-5-4.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll take a look at the big one on Saturday night at Churchill Downs. It's Stephen Foster.
It's a photo finish. It's too close to call.
Welcome back to the Capital TV Stakes preview. Mike Callahan, Sully Crotty. We are through 3 of the 5 we're going to talk about, and it's all Churchill Downs on what is a premier night for them, a Stephen Foster night. We've talked about the first 3 in that pick 5 sequence. And again, don't forget, Sully talked about it at the beginning. Capital TV will be taking nighttime thoroughbreds, so you'll be able to bet all the races that we're talking about. Hopefully, we can lead you in the right pick 5 direction. And then don't forget, we're also going to have OTB Live. We're still kind of picking and drawing straws to see who's going to do the OTB Live, but we are going to have OTB Live on Saturday night to see who's going to be here and talk about all the races. We had a great time doing it a couple weeks ago on the late Saturday night card they had at Churchill Downs, so it's going to be fun. But again, don't forget, Capital OTB will be taking nighttime thoroughbred on Saturday night, which is what we're talking about right now. So we will get up to the big one on Saturday. It is the Stephen Foster Grade 2 event, mile and an eighth. You're going to see a field in here of 12 and some notable names that you've seen many times. Yoshida is going to be 7-2 on here. The second choice, Gift Box, coming in from the West Coast, is going to be 3-1, and your favorite, slight favorite in here, and Seeking to Sow at 4-1. Another one coming in off of a decent performance in the Ali Sheba, was coming back from Dubai, where the horse finished 8th to Thunder Snow in that Dubai World Cup, but had put in a really nice performance in the Pegasus Invitational, finishing second at big odds down at Gulfstream, when I know you and Seth were down there as well. There's a lot of, and we talk about this all the time, there's a lot of different directions you could go in here, but it was really hard for me to look past some of the logicals in here. What were your thoughts, since I know you have a replay to show, and ultimately, did you look in a different direction?
Yeah, I mean, the logicals, I kind of went with them as well. I went 9, 4, 6, and 12. I went with Tom's to Todd on top, and I do want to pull up the replay of last time out against McKinzie in the Ali Sheba on Kentucky Oaks Day. And Tom's to Todd is the number 2. Ran a 101 buyer in here. So the horse was on the lead the entire way, and then McKinzie just went into a completely different gear. So I actually think this was a really good effort. And I think a repeat of this effort, obviously McKinzie would be very tough to beat in here. I just think a repeat of that 101 buyer. Tom's the Todd's going to be a little bit tough to beat in here. And as you can see, the horse looks a little leg weary and holds off some of these other horses behind McKinzie. And going into that race, kind of threw in a clunker in the Pegasus World Cup in the slop. I'll give a pass there. But going into the Pegasus, ran a really nice, did win a nice stakes race at the fairgrounds on the front end. And when I see a horse that has a little bit of speed and can go wire to wire at the fairgrounds or sit a neck off the pace at the fairgrounds, I kind of put a circle next to it and wait for the horse to run the next time out. And that's what I'm doing with Tom's the Tot. 4 for 5 at Churchill Downs, Super 3 at the distance, and 5-1 is a very fair price. You would think the 6 and the 12 are going to take all the money in here. So I'm going to use the 4 in the second spot. The number 4 is Seeking the Soul. Seeking the Soul going out for Dallas Stewart, who's had a really nice Churchill Downs meet as well. John Velasquez in the ride. Was in that same race as McKenzie and Tom's the Tot. Was closing late in the Pegasus World Cup behind City of Light. Going into that, ran third in the Clark, and then the Breeders' Cup ran second behind Seeking the City of Light in that Breeders' Cup mile. So I think Seeking the Soul's coming in good form as well. Loves Churchill Downs, 8 for 11. Does have a really nice closing kick. And then the 6 is Gift Box coming in from out west. And I'm just never a big fan of horses coming in from shorter fields out west and then making a first start, especially at Churchill Downs, against this type of field, a really balanced field. The Gift Box obviously is a horse that needs some attention and needs to be on your ticket. Going to be interesting to see where Joel Rosario places this horse. This horse can win from on the lead or push the pace and then get a jump on the closers. I think that's what they'll do. I think Tom's the Top will get the lead. I'm just hoping I can get to the wire before Gift Box can run by me. I'm going to use defensively, and then in the third spot, Yoshida I have 4th. I need to see a little bit more from Yoshida before I go higher than 4th. Obviously, the winner of the Wood, running a 102 buyer at Saratoga, can make some noise in here, but the last couple weren't that great for Yoshida. I'm going to use in the 4th spot. But for me in the Stephen Foster, 9, 4, 6, and 12.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Elders in here, but I'm with you on Yoshida. I don't even have Yoshida in my top 4. I'm gonna take a pass on Yoshida. I'm not sure. I'm always a little weary of horses coming back from Dubai. You know, how they transferred over there, how they came back. You know, it takes horses a lot of time to sort of round back in to really good form. And I'm just thinking Yoshida's going to get a lot of play in here and may actually need a race in this spot since running in the Dubai World Cup. So I have it 6, 4, 10, and 7. The 6 Gift Box, Sully already talked about. Gift Box is in career best form. And that second last time to Vino Rosso, I know Vino Rosso ran a career best number that day as well. But the fact that this horse is going to sit a perfect trip. Tom's the Tot, who you just mentioned and you saw a replay of, is going to be forwardly placed. He doesn't need the lead, but he should be 1-2 going into the first turn. I think the 5 is the main speed in here. Is a horse that's going to get a huge class test in here, but a horse that's been running really fast times and going shorter. The mile and an eighth, I expect him to be on the lead. I expect Tom's the Tot to be sitting just off, and I think Gift Box should be sitting 3rd in this spot, targeting Tom's the Tot around the far turn. So I just think based on the fact this horse is in career best form, John Sadler's shipping this horse to Churchill for the fact that he just wants to get as many races into this horse as he possibly can, especially in the fact that he's just been racing unbelievable in the last 3 to 4 starts. I think the trip's going to set up nice for Joel Rosario. I'm hoping that the 3-1 stays in here, but we'll ultimately see at post time how it really plays out. But I think he has a serious shot in here. He's going to be my top choice. Underneath Seeking the Soul, I like the fact that he came back from Dubai and got a race under his belt. I didn't think last time they expected to win. They just were looking to see what they had coming back from Dubai. He finished a good 3rd to McKenzie and Tom's the Tot. I think he's going to get a good setup in here because I think the pace is going to be honest enough. It should set up in here for closures, and who likes it better at Churchill Downs than Seeking the Soul, who's got 3 victories, including 9 for 11 in the money. So he should be flying with Johnny V sticking around for the mount. And then also the 10 and the 7. Of the youngsters in here, though, 4-year-olds that are facing older, I like Quip and Tenfold in here. I think Quip off the victory last time, albeit was in the slop at Oaklawn. He got a career best 99 buyer. I think he's one that should be forwardly placed in here, probably 5th or 6th going into the first turn. But if for some reason Gift Box isn't ready or Tom's the Tot sort of gets tired down the lane, Quip is a horse at a nice price of 10-1 that you should use, especially in your pick 5 sequence if you can. And then Tenfold coming off that victory in the Pimlico Special last time against You're the Blame. I know You're the Blame didn't run very well at the end of the card on Belmont Stakes Day, but nonetheless, I think Tenfold with Ricardo Santana Jr., Steve Asmussen, out of Curlin, the mile and an eighth, he should handle it with ease. And he's done so already. So I think he's one that you should use in here at 12-1. So it's very interesting for me how the Stephen Foster is going to play out. But I have it 6, 4, 10, and 7. Your thoughts one more time?
9, 4, 6, and 12.
All right, let's round it out in the grade 3 Regret. It's going to finish off that all stakes pick 5. Race number 9. You're going to see a field in here of 11. You're going to see the favorite being the number 1 slate favorite at 7-2. That's Winter Sunset. Going out for Wayne Catalano. Channing Hill's going to be aboard. Coming off of back-to-back third-place performances. Both the Concrete Rose, who may be one of the better and high-rising type of turf horses, especially with Newspaper Record running those two confusing races. But for me, there's a standout in here, and we're going to get to it. You have a replay to show first, so I'll let you give your thoughts. But for me, there's going to be a single in this race as far as my pick 5 sequence goes.
Yeah, I like Princess of Carolina. And I want to pull up the Appalachian at Keeneland on a soft turf course, and we'll be the number 5 in here. Just the stretch run and the far turn in the stretch run. Just the number 5. Princess Carolina is the number 5, and I thought this was a good enough effort at a mile. I think this horse wants to go longer, just like Rocketry, and is in the blue and red diamonds with the light sleeves here. It's 3 chimneys, and it is the number 5. I thought this was a good effort. I thought the soft turf may have been a little bit of an issue, but this was a really good Appalachian field, a Grade 2 field with Regal Glory, who came in second in this race and then came back to run a decent number as well. So I'm good with this Appalachian, but then the next time out ran a nice 80 buyer, went wire to wire that day, kind of walked up front. I think this horse can close into some slower numbers. I think you're going to get a slow number on the front end here. And I think that Appalachian race is coming out to be a pretty logical race with Regal Glory coming back to run a big number the next time out, and that race was earlier in April. Horse has been working out decent as well. May 25th posted a nice work, a 3 out of 30 going a minute and 2 for 5. So I like seeing horses that have closing speed and they have decent speed workouts as well. So I'm going to use Princess Carolina on top, and I love Brian Hernandez in these turf races at Churchill Downs. The number 1 is Winter Sunset, as you said, coming in after facing Concrete Rose twice, lost by a length in the Florida Oaks. I think a repeat of that race will be tough to beat, especially how we saw how good Concrete Rose was on Kentucky Oaks Day. And then the 1 is Gambling Train, Adam Beschizza, and a nice closing effort the last couple, and a horse that's done nothing wrong in the career. It's going to get a little bit of an asset's head going into Graded Stakes Company for the first time, but the last couple, this horse has been right at the wire. It's either won by half a length or it's lost by half a length the last 3 or 4. So ever since breaking the maiden, has done a nice job. I'm going to use a nice price to complete the trifecta. 11, 1, 10, and 4 for me in race 9.
I have it 4, 1, 7, and 9. Varenka is going to be my single on my pick 5. 4 to 1 on the morning line. I'm hoping that it holds. A horse that broke the maiden, we're going to watch the replay here in a second, but broke the maiden in the 5th career start. It is going to be the 3 horse on the rail in here. But this wasn't the conventional maiden breaker. This horse had already raced in a maiden special weight, finished 3rd, and then the next 3 races were in Graded Stakes Company, including a 5th to Newspaper of Record, a solid 2nd in the Miss Grillo in a Grade 2 event, and also finished 2nd in the P.G. Johnson up at Saratoga to Dog Tag. Dog Tag came back to win on Pimlico, on the Pimlico undercard. Now she's going to be splitting horses right here, and she's just going to finish with an unbelievable turn of foot. Now again, this is maidens, and we're not really sure how good she is, but she was coming off of a 7-month layoff, and she is absolutely full of run right now. Was never even asked to run in this race. Now they're going to ship her to Churchill Downs in this Grade 3 event. Again, she's already stakes placed in some big races against much better competition than she's going to face on Saturday. I like the fact that Javier Castellano is going to reunite with her because he was aboard that race last time out in that maiden special weight. So he knows that he's got something good on his hands. I think she's rounding into very good form. 2nd off the layoff, should be even more fit in this situation. And I'm hoping 5 to 2, maybe 2 to 1. I think a lot of people are going to see that replay and be wowed by that. So even if you get 2 to 1 in here, she's going to be my single. I'll use her on top underneath Winter Sunset. I think she's a very good horse. Just run into some interesting aspects in the last 2 races. The fact that she really didn't want to be as far back last time in the Edgewood as she was. Did pass a couple in there to finish 3rd at Concrete Rose, Newspaper Record. And then in the Florida Oaks, she was sitting in between horses. She was game that day, finishing 3rd, beating a length. But again, she just hasn't had the best of it. Maybe she will on Saturday. She's definitely a horse you want to use in here. If I had to go too deep in here, it would be 1-4. I think they're a clear cut as far as being above. And then the 7 and the 9 for me in the 3rd and 4th spot. Bellara, a horse that finished 3rd 2 starts back while being 4thly placed. Last time out, I don't think she wanted to be as far back as she was, but she's been working out well at Churchill Downs. She may be one that you want to use in the mix at 8 to 1. And then a 9 in the 4th spot. That's Fortunate Girl. Horse that didn't run at all in the Edgewood last time out, but did chase Newspaper Record that day. You go 2 starts back. did win a nice allowance race down at Keeneland. She's one in a value play, especially since the workouts show you that she may be ready to go. She may be one that you want to use at a little bit of a bomb in here at 12-1. So for me, I saw it 4, 1, 7, and 9. Your thoughts one more time?
11, 1, 10, and 4.
All right, that's our thoughts on that All Stakes Pick 5 at Churchill Downs. Again, don't forget, Capital OTB taking all nighttime thoroughbred on Saturday. Bet all the nighttime thoroughbred you want. Obviously, Churchill Downs is going to be the highlight on Saturday. We will have OTB Live as well, so if you're looking for thoughts and a little bit of analysis, don't forget to tune into OTB TV and OTB Live at night, where we will have a handicapper. Any more thoughts before we go?
You said it. Just don't forget we're taking nighttime thoroughbred. It's a fantastic card for Saturday night. Stephen Farser goes off around 3 minutes to 10 o'clock at night, so it's going to be a great night of racing. Don't forget to play with Capital OTB.
Yeah, on behalf of Sully Crowdy and myself, till we see you again, take care.
You're watching Capital OTB TV. Wager at CapitalOTBBet.com for the most comprehensive wagering site and the best player rewards in New York State.